What is going on, my YouTube family? Welcome back to the Gaming Brigade. And over the last 3 weeks, many of you have sent the channel a request asking me to show you one of my favorite skill builds in the game, because as most of you know, I do highlight a lot of run and gun builds, things around Hunter's Fury, as well as the Striker gear set. And some of you are wondering if I have a favorite skill build, and the answer is yes. And honestly, I call this thing my breakfast build, because typically when I'm using this thing, it's when I'm actually having breakfast. I'm having my coffee, maybe a bowl of cereal, oatmeal, who knows where the day takes us. But that's not the point. The point is you can sit back and chill, let the build do the work for you, which is incredibly fun sometimes. Now, there are a bunch of details I'd like to get into, but I want to go over the build breakdown initially, and then I will go over a few tips I recommend for new and returning players. So starting with the specialization, you can see I'm using Technician, and that is for two main reasons. First of all, it is going to give you an extra skill tier, but secondly, it allows you to equip the linked laser pointer to any long-barreled weapon. However, in order to do that, you need to make sure you have the rifle selected in your weapon skill tree. That is going to give you the access to that laser pointer, so you want to have rifles as one of your weapons. Now, we'll go into those details in a moment, but for my primary, I'm using the Harmony rifle. Absolutely love this weapon because of its talent perfectly in sync, where hitting an enemy grants 20% skill damage for 5 seconds. Using a non-shield skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants 20% weapon damage as well, and damage increases are doubled when both buffs are active at the same time, and when that's taking place, you're absolutely melting NPCs left and right. Now, if you do not have this weapon, thankfully you do have a lot of options. You can really put any weapon here you enjoy using with the regular talent in sync. That is still going to get the job done. Again, remember, because we're using the linked laser pointer, it needs to be a long-barreled weapon. So you will need to take that into consideration, but again, you will have a lot of weapons to choose from. Pick whatever you enjoy using the most. Now, for my secondary, I've chosen a capacitor because it has the talent capacitance, where shooting enemies builds stacks to a cap of 40. Each stack grants 1.5% skill damage. After 5 seconds, stacks decay 1 per second. Now, in addition to that, you're also going to get 7.5 weapon damage for every skill tier that you gain, so you can see I'm at skill tier 6, which means right out of the gate I'm getting an extra 45% weapon damage with this weapon, which really helps out if NPCs happen to get close. For my handgun, it's the TDI card custom with the talent in sync as well, though I don't really use it that often with this build. Now, onto the gear. You can see I'm using 1 Wyvern, 3 Empress International, and 2 Hannah U. Starting with the mask, it's the 1 piece of Wyvern, so we get that extra 10% skill damage. And one thing I want to mention as we move on is you're going to see these pieces are far from perfect, meaning I don't need headshot damage with this build. I'd much rather that attribute be skill damage, but again, with this game, it's all RNG. Sometimes you do not get the gear you're looking for. But one thing I like to highlight at this channel is even if you do not have the perfect gear, you can still get the job done while you're on the hunt for new items. Now, moving on to the body armor, it's the first of 3 pieces of the Empress International, and you can see I'm using the Talent Spotter, which amplifies total weapon and skill damage by 15% to pulsed enemies. Now remember, because we're using that linked laser pointer, every single enemy we target is going to proc that talent, which means it should be running non-stop when you're using this build. Now, in all of these pieces of gear, I'm trying to stack skill damage, skill duration, and skill haste everywhere I can. We have the holster and the knee pads, which are the 2 remaining pieces of the Empress International, and as we make our way to the gloves and the backpack, they are the 2 pieces of Hannah U, first of which are the gloves, again stacking that skill damage and skill haste. And last but not least, my friends, we have the bag, which is the named Hannah U backpack force multiplier. It is an absolute monster when it comes to builds like this because it has the talent perfectly combined arms, and with that talent, shooting an enemy increases total skill damage by 30% for 3 seconds. So every time you're shooting an enemy, you're proccing the talent on the chest, you're proccing the talent on the weapon, the bag as well, and this absolutely melts everything left and right. Now, for those of you that are new to skill builds, there happen to be a few recommendations I would like to pass along really quick. The first of which is, what skills should you use with this build? And in my opinion, you want to use the assault drone and the assault turret because they are the easiest to get used to, and you also want to think about what type of control point you're hitting up. Now, the other thing I strongly recommend is hitting up control points on the map that have really great vantage points. I showed you a moment ago MLK Memorial Library. You can see Sleeping Giant as well, but the gameplay footage I'm going to show you in this video is Riverside Gas Station. You will see a complete breakdown of how I actually attack the thing. You have 2 vantage points. There's a clear indication on when you should switch from one to another. And as always, my fellow agents, I sincerely hope this helps you out. And as I mentioned in all of these videos, remember, this is just one of so many different ways to run with a build like this. The most important thing is to truly take your time, make a build your own, decide, do you want to use an AR as your primary or a rifle like I am in this footage. And as all of you know by now, one of my favorite aspects about putting these build videos together is the family that we have here at the channel. So if you happen to have any tips or tricks you want to pass along to new and returning players, please let me know, as the main goal is to help out as many people as we can. On that note, I'm going to leave you with some gameplay footage. I want to thank you all for your incredible support of this channel and remind you, if you happen to be new here, feel free to hit that subscribe or join button. If you enjoyed this, you could hit that like button as well. But most importantly, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks again, everyone.
Broadcast picked up. Drop one. Hostiles guarding location nearby. Detecting additional hostile contacts. Supply room access unlocked. Hostile broadcast detected.